Hello everyone. So today let's see what variables are. So generally in any programming language we have the concept of something called as variables. Now, what is a variable? So a variable is just like a container that can hold any value in it. Any value. A variable can store any value in it depending upon the data type of that variable. So that is a simple definition of a variable. Okay, so there are two things: how do you declare a variable and how do you use it, and what happens to the variable, what is the scope of the variable, and what is the lifetime of the variable. We'll discuss. Now, how do you declare a variable in Java? We write the data type of the variable. Again, we will discuss the different data types that Java supports, and what are data types in general. So data type is going to tell you what kind of data that you can store in the variable. Okay, here int age is equal to 20. So this line or this statement tells us that you have declared a variable called age and you're trying to store 20 as a value inside that particular variable because it is of type integer, so it can only store integer values. Now if you see, this is what you write in your Java code, and behind the scenes in the memory level, what happens is, in the memory level here you will see that there is this block, like a variable is a container. So imagine as a box, and this particular box will have some address, hexadecimal some address in the memory, and inside that you have the value 20 because you have used the data type as int and age variable. So this is the name of the variable age. Okay, so this is about how it will be in the memory, and this is how it will be declared. Okay, next, again another example here, that this is int age is 20 and this is a variable name, this is a data type, and this is a value. And in the memory you will just see a memory block with some address and 20 being the value stored inside that particular address. And now let's see the code here. So I've declared an integer variable called age and it is 20, and I'm trying to print this statement, something like my age is, and I'm just trying to print the variable, whatever the value that is there inside this variable. Now if I go and run this code, so you get the value as my age is 20, and let's say if we declare another variable int um, something like x is equal to 40, and let's try to print this. Okay, let me print the value of x directly. Okay, and just save it and run it. So now there is another variable which is of type int, which is having value as 40, and we printed it. Got it. Now next, now there are some rules about how you could name your variables. We everyone should follow these rules. Okay, so rules are: the name of the variable can contain letters, digits, and underscores and dollar sign. When I say the word contains, it means anywhere in between. Okay, so you can have any letters, digits, underscores, and dollar sign. Okay, so this is one of the rule that you need to follow. Generally, even if you use the dollar sign in the variable, it will not throw you any error. But the point is, generally any system generated code or system related code will have this dollar sign, and it is completely good practice to avoid using special characters like dollar in your variable name. The second rule is it must begin with a letter or an underscore or a dollar, nothing else. It cannot start with a digit. Your variable can never start with a digit. Okay, and it is a valid variable name. If it starts with a dollar, it will not give you any error. But the thing is, it is not a best practice. It is not a best practice to start your variable names with dollar, because that is generally used in case of some system level variables or which is very specific. And generally it is better to avoid using the dollar sign in your variable names. And then cannot be a keyword or a reserved word. Now, what is a keyword? So basically, keywords are some predefined reserved words in Java, which you cannot use for variable names. For example, I have some list of keywords in Java here. You can have a look, like the abstract word, break, boolean, case, catch. All these are predefined words which actually have some meaning, right? If is used for if else block and for is used for loop, so you cannot declare any variable with the name for, right? You cannot declare int for, or you cannot declare something like int finally, int final, because these words have a separate meaning and they are meant for different things. So you cannot use these keywords because they are reserved and used for some other purpose. So you cannot use these names for declaring your variables. Okay, so now that is a thing, and no, there is no limit to the length of the identifier as in your variable name. Okay, and they are case sensitive. Okay, the meaning case sensitive is if you have int x, and if I have int capital X is equal to 30, then both these lines are different, both the x uh, are different. Okay, if I have to paste this and if I have to do X, right? If I save it and if I run it, both these values are different. This small x is a different variable which has the number 40, and this capital X is a different value, different variable which has a different value 30. That's why you could see that 40 and 30 being printed. They don't mean the same thing. They both are different. So it's like I'm just writing it here, small x variable, and similarly this one is uh, capital X variable. Okay, these two are different. See, once you write the code, you could see this, that this is another variable and this is another variable. Let me also mention it here as capital X because just for the avoiding confusion. So you got it. And the next thing, let's go towards the next thing. Okay, so yeah, case sensitive is over, and let's take some examples. What are some valid variable names? Can a variable be I, single letter? Yes, it is valid. You can say int I, int x, int j, anything, right? That is valid. Can you do int number? Yeah, number you can do it because number is not predefined in Java, so it's valid. N can be capital also. Yeah, it's valid. But we will see what are the best practices to name the variables. Okay, and can the variable be the name variable? Yes, it is, because it's not a predefined word. It is totally fine. And this is a very long variable. Is it valid? Yes, it is valid because it has underscores in between. And dollar number, yes, this is a valid variable name, and it will not give you any error, but it is a best practice not to use dollars. And underscore 50 cents, yes, because it starts with an underscore, so it's valid. It should just not start with a number, but it can contain numbers. What are some invalid variable names, can we see? So 50 cent, 50 starting, the variable name starts with the number 5, so it's wrong, it's incorrect. And the name my space number, the variable has a spaces in between, so it is not a valid number. And a plus b cannot be a name, but it can be an expression, and you need to use it and store the value of this expression somewhere. So this cannot be a valid variable name. You cannot do int a plus b, that's wrong. Okay, you can store this the result of this expression in some integer variable, that is possible. And you see this MC, there is an apostrophe RIB, so there is a special character icon which is not recognized or a valid special character to be used in a variable name, so this is incorrect. So these are the rules for the variables. Okay, so um, so in today we discussed about the variables and its rules, how you can define, and how internally the variable is stored in the memory. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you.